by the banks of the river, where the willows hang down, the wild birds they warble with a low moaning sound, way down in the hollow where the river runs cold. It was there I first listened to the lies that you told. Now I lie on my back and I see your sweet face. The past I remember, time can't erase. And the letters you wrote me, they were written in shame. And I know that your conscience still echoes my name. If the ladies were blackbirds, if the ladies were thrushes, well, I'd lie there for hours in the chilly cold marshes. And if the women were squirrels, with them high bushy tails, well, I'd load up my shotgun with rock salt and nails. I'd load up my shotgun.
Morning. Here. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up! Wake up!
What is dark matter?
Okay, we don't know.
That's great. That's why it's called dark.
It's exactly.
Everyone knows all reputable information comes from random people on the internet. Tell me things, internet. The earth is flat. It's like school in your head.
Okay, dark matter is something we do not know what it is. We believe that dark matter is there, but we have never detected it. Well, what I'm afraid of course, is that there is no dark matter out there.
There was one?
There is no dark matter out there. We need to think really hard.
Morning. Here. Wake up.
I'm starting off fresh and I feel good. I look good. I smells good. I am good.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
And happy Wednesday to you all. Welcome to the IRONWORX right here on freeworld.fm. Rolling out with a little music to start things off. That was Tyler Childers with Rock Salt and Nails.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's got a few really, really good ones that I like that just kind of stay perpetually in my playlist. That being one of them.
I've always loved slow country songs.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what it is, but when you have those slow country songs like that, where you can really hear the words and it tells that type of story, oh, I love those. Yep. Not a whole lot of singing or a whole lot of, like there isn't a fiddle going crazy or, nothing like that. It's just a guy, a guitar, and singing away. Yeah, I love stuff like that. What's going on with you, Josh?
Dude, not a whole hell of a lot. It is Wednesday, my dudes. It's work's quiet. I'm just patiently waiting for tomorrow to get here so I can see what I can do about getting that computer hooked up. I'm excited. By all rights, it should be here tomorrow.
Awesome. Should be. You haven't heard anything otherwise, right?
Correct. And it's coming from the oops man, so I won't hear anything until it's not here.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's a good oops man.
Yeah, me too. Well, it requires a signature, so that's encouraging.
May all your buttons work and may all your lights light up.
Right. May all my connections still be secure.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to be Walterless again this morning. He was feeling a bit under the weather. Been kind of on the downhill slide since Sunday. And it's possible if for some reason he happens to wake up and is feeling somewhat better, he said he would try to hop in. But I'm not counting on it. I'd much prefer he just rest up. But we'll miss you, Walter. Feel better. We love you.
We do.
How about you, Zach? How are you?
Not too bad. I've been getting back into the Fortnite thing. I finally figured out how to do it. I got a new map code made, and when I went in to go test it, none of the chests that I had any weapons in them, or any of the stuff I put in.
What?
Yeah. I ran around, I opened up like 5, 6, 7 chests, different places. I was like, well, what's going on? These all had guns in them. They have guns in them on the old, the world map. Right now I'm working on Eurasia because I wanted to get Liz's Garden playable. And yeah, so I am in the process of making all new chests again. They had a thing where you could have random loot chests. So I just make a pool of a bunch of stuff on these 3 things and then put a bunch of chests out, and then they'll just randomly appear. Stuff will randomly appear out there, kind of like in the game. But it's lame. I put 5 chests out, and they all threw stuff out. They didn't throw out the stuff that I had told them to throw out. Well, some of it was, but most of it was like materials, which this is a no build mode. Why would you have a bunch of materials for building stuff coming out of chests? I didn't tell it to do that. And then throwing out all these other guns and stuff like that. But out of the 5 chests I opened, 1 gun popped out. Like, yeah, people are going to love that, running around, opening chests and not getting a weapon.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So I don't know. They still may have some bugs to do, but I'm just going to make it so I can't do that right now, the random chest. It'll be like it was before. The chests are going to be what they are until they work out some kinks and bugs. But it should be coming here soon. Well, I played like 6 hours with that stupid thing yesterday, trying to get it to work. And it's a new feature, so there are no videos out there on it at all. This just happened last week. So yeah, it's a kind of a pain in the butt, but we'll see. Yeah, there's already been over 3,000 people that have visited the North America one.
Nice.
But yeah, once I get them all out there, I'm going to do like solos, duos, trios, squads for all the different maps. I'll do a no build and a build mode and all that kind of stuff for all the different maps. And then I'm going to have David release it on his app. Maybe we can get a little bit more traffic over there. I just like to play it with, people I don't know even,
Uh-huh.
It's mostly been go in and play with, the people after the show. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're done playing with them. You want to play with some people you don't know.
You guys are always killing me all the time.
Well, I am at least slightly excited to have a computer back where I'll be able to at least pop in on occasion.
Yeah, it's been forever, man. It sucks.
It has been a few months now that I think about it.
It's not the same without y'all there.
Nobody around to revive.
Yeah, the new map is pretty wild and crazy. Different. There's like, the guns have like scopes and suppressors and all this other crap that you get out of the box. And then I think there's a workbench now where you can go and change things on your guns. They're getting a little too advanced for me. Us old timers don't want to deal. I just want to point and shoot. That's all I want to do.
And if it wasn't so much of a free-for-all run-and-gun type of thing, not even really run-and-gun, but you're just not really... I don't necessarily see it. I don't think the games are really that... I don't know. Maybe
no, you're right. You're right. Even the Call of Duty games that are supposed to be like that are not like that.
Uh-huh.
They're listening to all these streamers tell them how to make their games now. In all the games, you have to be able to move at speeds that are, not realistic at all. You have to be able to jump off buildings and be fine and just keep running. That's not realistic at all. I see people doing stuff in Call of Duty. When I was playing Call of Duty, I'd be dead. You just jumped off a 3-story building and you're just cool. You're fine. That's not realistic. If you want to play unrealistic games, go play one of those futuristic games where you can run on the walls and, have boost jumps and all this other crazy stuff. Why are you doing this to games that are supposed to be based in reality? Yeah, they've ruined Call of Duty. They turned it into some, I don't know. But that's why I used to love Call of Duty, because it was realistic. I wouldn't even play the regular Call of Duty. I played on hardcore mode because I thought the regular mode was too unrealistic, because I had to shoot somebody like with 7 or 8 bullets to kill them. I was like, well, that's ridiculous. But hardcore, take out my AK, that's it. That's reality. Yeah, they ruined Call of Duty. It used to be so much better.
And even Call of Duty, at least, you're carrying over weapons, right? You're taking the time to build and expand and upgrade a weapon. And you go from game to game trying to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your armor, do whatever it is. And that's cool because you carry that shit over from game to game. Like, ooh, I need that attachment. I want that attachment. I want that skin, whatever. Fortnite, just, you're going to lose your gun. The next game, you're not going to have any of the same shit anyway. So I don't understand the point of having the attachments. I mean, it just seems like a gimmick.
It is.
Anything you can do with the attachment to improve that weapon, you could have built into the weapon to begin with. You don't need to say, ooh, look, it's an attachment. Just fuck off with the attachments. Give me whatever OP shit you want to give me with an attachment. Just put it on the gun anyway and just let me play. I don't need all this other shit. Don't turn it into Call of Duty.
Yeah, they ruined it in my eyes.
Gonna make Call of Duty like Fortnite, and Fortnite like Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. But that's because what all the streamers want. It's like, why are you listening to the streamers? I understand that this and that and blah, 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 but you never needed these people before. I mean, you're cowing down to like 15-year-olds. Tell them to stick it. No. Oh, but they'll give us a bad review on their YouTube channel. Or, dude, your Call of Duty. Seriously, you've been at this for decades. You just keep making good games, and you're going to be fine. Nah, they've messed up so bad, allowing all the cheating and everything to keep going on like they do, and oh, but they're streamers who bring in revenue and this and that, so we're going to allow them to cheat and all this other crap. It's pathetic to see a company. Call of Duty is one of the, I can't say Call of Duty because Call of Duty isn't a company. You know, I think, who is it, Treyarch and somebody, there's like different companies, 2 different companies, I believe, that make the Call of Duty games. One makes like a Modern Warfare, the other one makes the Black Ops series. But they've both fallen off the rails by listening to all this nonsense and allowing people cheating in their games and stuff like that because they're streamers. Yeah, it's sad seeing that happen to that franchise, because I grew up playing that for over a decade. I played Call of Duty. Over a decade.
Posted chat is saying it's BlackRock, it's Vanguard in the end. And I really think there's a whole lot to be said there. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I feel like they're still just trying to manipulate society. Do I think that there is Epic listening to these handful of popular streamers to try to make games a certain way? Or is it sort of almost the other way? Are they guiding the streamers to suggest things to change so that they can filter that down out to the populace? This is the kind of thing you really want. This is the kind of game that you want to play. I don't know, because I think it is all BlackRock and Vanguard that I don't trust anything. I think it's all a big conspiracy. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, it's definitely Vanguard, and I'm sure the other one, they're probably both owned by Vanguard, or like you said, BlackRock probably owns the other one or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a shame, but this happens. Companies are always rising and falling in America.
Who'd have thought we'd have lived to see the day that Disney fell?
Oh, man, they are just... they still haven't hit bottom yet. Yeah, it's amazing how different the West Coast is, and let's say parts of the East Coast. I'd say more up north. But these places in the country and right in the middle, right, or, Chicagoland, these places are so different than the rest of the country. And I think it comes from the educators in those areas. The people in the elementary schools and the, K through 12. I think has changed dramatically over the last, 30 years. When I was in school, teachers had to dress nicely. Teachers weren't allowed to wear jeans to class. And you see some of the stuff that these people are wearing to class now. Some of them look like they're clowns going in there to teach. All these different color hairs and makeup that is like spray painted on. When did this become? I don't know. It's just weird to me. When I was growing up, I know it was way, way, way back in the 80s and 90s and all that, but teachers were expected, to not give us their opinion. I never heard a teacher talk about the Democrats or the Republicans or which one they liked or this or that. They taught us about the parties. There may have been a little bit of,
bias
in the way that they taught it, but nobody ever told me, oh, you shouldn't be, your parents are stupid if they're listening to George Bush or Ronald Reagan or this or that. Your parents are dumb, blah, blah. Who the fuck are you to be telling these children that their parents are wrong about their political views? That's not your job at all. And when did all this social, what do you even call it?
Engineering, social engineering. Yeah. And this is all coming from those liberal arts colleges. That's where you're getting your teachers are getting their teaching degrees from a liberal arts college. And that's where they're putting these professors, these radicalized professors. And then they pass that radical ideology onto their students, who then go on to become the elementary teachers and the high school teachers, who have been now indoctrinated with that radicalized ideology and are now filtering it down to the kids.
Yeah. Andrew B. in chat brings up a great point. I would love to see an index of how many children are being homeschooled today versus 20 years ago. I would imagine that it's like probably tenfold. As much as I've been hearing people, online at least, saying, my child hasn't been to school in a few years now since all this stuff started.
Yeah, well,
and then teaching, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, when the school board is calling on the Federal Bureau of Investigation to investigate parents for wanting to have a say in the curriculum in the schools, it's a good time to pull your fucking kids out.
Yeah. Or when they tell you that your kids are part of a collective and they're really their kids now. Because it takes us a whole society to raise a child. It takes a man and a woman to make a child.
And that child is their property.
Their property that they get to raise until that child becomes of age. And it's their responsibility. And I saw that in a lot of these college professors, these female college professors that are older, in their late 40s, 50s, 60s. They either didn't have children of their own or all their children are moved out. And now they talk to all these college students like they're their 5-year-old child, and they just want them to be safe and protected and have. It's like, this is an adult. You're not Kamala Harris. Stop talking to me like I'm 5 years old. You're not a politician. You're here to educate me, not to make sure my feelings feel good and safe and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Oh. Yeah, you're right, Bill. The school system is doing exactly what they designed it to do. But the thing is, the people that are messing it up, they don't know that they're part of this agenda and plan, They were just raised this way. They were taught this way.
I don't even know if that's necessarily true. And that's what I was going to say too, Bill. Oh, well, it's been this way since inception of mandatory public schooling. But I don't know that it has. I mean, the concepts have all been there. But when they started this mandatory public education system, it was to create good little soldiers or good little citizens or good little workers. Now, that doesn't seem to be the case. They're not creating good little soldiers or good little workers or good little citizens, but they're creating the exact opposite. How do we undermine? Yeah, how do we undercut all those good little soldiers and good little citizens and good little workers that we've created? We'll create these other things.
And how did they forget to teach the kids about Israel? I don't
think they forgot.
Do you see all the LGBTQ plus that is claiming that if Palestine were free, they would welcome us?
Yeah.
You people are delusional.
Yeah. Which is what I've been saying for a while, but whatever.
Well, yeah. Besides the point, but
there's more evidence of your delusions.
Yeah, that is, okay, that's fine. I understand you want to back them because they're oppressed. I get it. I colonialism, all this other stuff. I see it. I don't even understand why they picked that place. I don't get it either. But as a person, that's fine. But as a group, a community, a LGBTQ plus community,
pick somebody a little more accepting of you. I understand you want to be accepting of everybody, but if you're going to plant your flag somewhere, at least plant it on somebody that's not going to throw you off a building first chance they fucking get. Pardon my language.
Yeah, exactly. Just use logic, just a little bit of logic, a little bit of thought process into it. And if everybody else is saying it, you don't have to say it. You can think about it. And if your thoughts are different than theirs, you can still say them. Now, maybe they won't accept you, but maybe that should be a lesson for you. It's not a lesson for the whole group together, because nobody learns that way as a whole group. You get programmed that way, but as far as learning and growing as an individual, as a person, you don't have to follow what the group says. Now, you can still be a part of a group and not agree with everything. Josh and I have been doing this a long time. You can tell we don't always agree on everything. But we're still here. We still talk to each other. I don't, despise Josh because of his stance on what I don't even remember any of the things that we don't even agree on.
I was trying to think of the same thing.
I know, it's not that important. But this whole idea that, well, the rest of the group says it, so I have to say it too. Think for yourself, is all I'm trying to say. Stop being sheep. Looks like we've been joined. Andrew B., how are you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful, and I have a very controversial, not really controversial, but obvious question to ask. But Travis is also here. I don't want to take the mic too quickly.
You take it. What do you got? We'll get to Trav.
Yeah, I'll take it real quick because I'll go back on mute. But I wanted to bring up something that I thought about. If you guys want to toss it around a little bit, like you think about the mandatory school system and the point at which it started to become introduced or become a part of our experience. Where were the constitutionalists that stood up and said, "You can't tell me what to do with my children"? Right? You can't mandate that I send my children to your institution. That's against my rights. Like, where were those people?
This was, I think, like right around the Great Depression, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I think mandatory schooling started back in the 1800s even. But still, it's the question is still the same. Where were the people who understood that no one can tell me what to do with my property but me?
There were a lot of them.
I mean?
There were several of them. I mean, it's not as though everybody was willing to go send their kids off to the government to be taught. There were several of them that resisted and fought. Maybe not physically.
But we have a system. No, yeah, but we have a system, and we have, an entertainment system that shows us that, there were truant officers, right? There were police officers that would nab little truant kids who weren't going to school, and they would show this militaristic Nazi,
it's true.
Nationalistic.
They do it now.
74 is when it started.
I just watched a video it was just a few weeks old, of two kids walking down the street, and it was the middle of the day, so 5 cops came and handcuffed them and tried to toss them around a little bit because they thought they should be in school. Oh, you're not going to give us your ID? Well, we'll take you to school and see if they know who you are. That's where you're supposed to be. And that's the way it is. They get paid per child. So when the school district isn't having those children come in, they lose money every single day those kids aren't there. So it's in their best financial interests to make sure that all of those kids are showing up, and so they can get all of those federal dollars.
Listen, yeah. I get all of that. My whole point is that we now live in, the kettle that's being raised in its temperature up at this point in history, before it got to this level, they, you know, where were the people when it was a less temperature that again should have stood up and said, you know, like, there should be no public schooling, right? We should have stood up for that and eliminated it. It's like, no. Like, I'm responsible for my children's education, not you guys. So part of the other thing is too, like, if we talk about a revisionist history, you know, part of the whole schooling system could have simply been that, like, we have to start this system now because this new society that we're starting has to be, you know, that first brick that is going to be developed into a massive building in 150 years that no one can, you know, stop. But
so
back on you.
Rockefeller poured a significant amount of investment into the education system. He created the General Education Board at the ultimate cost of $129 million and provided major funding for schools across the nation and was very influential in shaping the school system.
And that was through Congress, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1965.
That was way before that.
Now, Lyndon Johnson was the first president who made, he signed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act in 1965. But in California in 1874, attendance becomes compulsory for children ages 8 to 14. So it looks like it started out in California where it became, you know, you had to go to school for at least a little bit. But not until 1965 did the whole country adopt that. Did a president pass?
And this whole subject made me think about that Pink Floyd song, Another Brick in the Wall. We don't need no education.
Well, look where it's coming from, the Rockefellers. It started off as an evil thing right there. It was good intentions. I'm sure most of the people that were involved probably, you know, didn't know Rockefeller or any of that stuff, like the first teachers and stuff. They were just doing it to be teachers. And it's not even the teachers that it's the words in the books that were given to us to learn as our history, as our, you know, great advancements and who won these wars and who started these wars, that all came from this, you know, one source now. Where before,
yeah, a lot of soldiers also think they're doing the right thing too, because they go to war and they think that the enemy is the bad guy and they shoot and kill and they think they're justified. But in reality, they have no idea what they were actually doing. So same thing with educators. They think that what they're doing is justified because of what they're told.
Yeah, I've never, ever been mad at one of my school teachers for teaching me the earth wasn't flat, you know. They were taught the earth was round. They were teaching me something they believed was true. So I don't hold any grudges against any of my teachers for any of that stuff. It's the liars who made up the story in the first place and then keep paying to perpetuate it.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Surely can.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so I was having a conversation with one of my writers the other day. He works at this, like, Montessori school. I can't remember what it's called. It's a name that you would recognize, but I can't remember what it is right now. So I said, "Oh, what age do you teach?" She said, "I teach infants."
Oh, I think we just lost you.
To
what does she
whatever
teach?
age, like toddler. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. You have parents bring you babies that can't walk to your school? Like, she said, yeah. I'm like, why? What's the purpose in you having a baby? Like, why? What's the parent doing? Like, is this like this bourgeois school, like, that only belongs to people who, oh, I just don't know, you know, like, I've got a tea and crumpet appointment at 11 and I need someone to watch my baby. It's like, it was just so bizarre. She's like, yeah, we educate babies at infancy. I'm like, what are you teaching these infants? It was really weird.
And how can you verify? How do you judge? How do they test? Do the babies test better after they leave your school than they did when they got there?
Yeah, and that's that's what my mom did. She didn't claim to be an educator or anything like that. You know, she was what they really are at that age, a daycare provider. But she was.
But think about the sell that you had. That would have been a hard sell, I think, back in the 1800s. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. You have this Charles Ingalls and his family out on the prairie, and then you got somebody coming along and saying, "Why don't you give us your children for a couple of hours or whatever, and we'll teach them." Like, the parents would have been like, "We do that. Like, that's what we do. Why do we need you? Why, like, go away." I don't understand how this ever would have happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, 65, if that's, if Lyndon Johnson was the one who made it mandatory that all children go to schools and this and that and yada, yada, yada for the whole nationwide, that was right around, the feminist revolution. After all the men came back from World War II in Korea and all the women were in the factories, they didn't want to go back home. So then the men and women both started working, so they needed places like daycares and stuff like that to watch their children. And that's, yeah, you're right, though, because that was before it took two family members working, to provide for a household with a common job.
Well, even before then, even Laura Ingalls Wilder in the Little House on the Prairie took two parents to run that household, and two parents working full time during the day to make sure that household ran, whether it was dad out in the farm and mom cooking, cleaning, making sure the house got done, whatever it was. It took a lot of work.
But that's the whole thing, right? Like, I don't know, man. I think all of us.
Well, who's got the time to educate a kid? They're trying to run the house, they're trying to run the farm, they're trying to make sure that kid has food. They don't have the time to invest the time and energy it takes to teach that child to read. So they've got to get that one-room schoolhouse, and all the local kids go and they find the one person that can teach all the kids to read. All the kids can learn their mathematics.
Well, I mean, if you want to spin it that way, you can go ahead and do that.
Well, okay, let's just say, I suppose that is one way to spin it. What's the alternative? They had all the time in the world, and they just were too lazy to teach their kids, and they just decided to opt out to have the federal government do it so they could sit around and continue to do nothing? Or they were just really fucking busy.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, again, it's conjecture, right? I wasn't there, you weren't there. My
dad walked to school and went to a one-room schoolhouse where he had to. I mean, literally, I can still drive by the school and see the school where he and his brothers and, I mean, literally, it was like 13 kids from the surrounding community where they all went to the one-room schoolhouse and got taught, regardless of the age, because it was one room. I mean, it is conjecture, but I've also heard firsthand experiences of what it was like.
No, I guess I'm talking about going back to the Laura Ingalls Wilder thing. I'm saying I'm going to take it for granted that they've got an established homestead where, like, all they have to do is maintain. So it's like there's no need to read, almost, because most families probably didn't have enough money to buy books. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't there wasn't a society just yet. And I think this is intricately planned out and just orchestrated, right? They create the environment and the problem solution thing steps in. And then, you never know when that switch happened, and it would happen like 7,500 years before. But, you just got, if you just had people out on the prairie and there was no one else around, there would really be no reason to teach your child to write or to read per se, because all you had to do was talk and have a relationship with your child. It wasn't until you get into this idea of commercialism, where you have to write bills and then you have to make marks and you have to have signatures for contracts. All that kind of stuff, I think, changed the landscape. And but I think they would have had plenty of time to teach their kids. It doesn't take a whole. When we homeschooled our kids, we were done almost in an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh yeah, so much of the day is wasted there. Well, but it's not just to learn. So much of schooling and all that stuff is how we learn our social cues, or how we learn how to socially interact with groups of our peers without adult supervision. we learn about pecking orders and all that kind of, I mean, it's just human nature. But children need to have that interaction with other children.
Well, I agree, but I also think that there has to be a certain amount of, I still think there has to be a certain amount of regulation on even children. I wouldn't let them be just in one group without, because like I still think that there should be a parent there that would teach a child who is a bully. We don't do that. We don't abuse other people verbally. Okay, what you're doing, like, you know. So then the children see what the pecking order is. Like, oh, the bully has a bully, but I like the bigger bully because that bully is, you know, protecting me from the smaller bully that's bigger than me.
Well, that happens without adults around too.
Right. And that's sort of the same mentality of why we require a federal government. They're just the bigger bully. They've got that monopoly on violence, so they get to bully your bully. And if your neighbor's doing something you don't like, well, then you just vote in the bully that's bigger than them. It'll make them do what you want. It's the joy of voting.
Right. So then the joke is that our democracy is really a tyranny. Because if I have to submit my desires to the majority, then there's just more bullies than me. You know what I mean? I still lose. I have to do something that's against my will.
That's right. And that's why
just a different form of tyranny.
Makes you wonder if there's any even truth to the term consent of the governed. I would contend that there is zero truth to it because they don't need your consent to govern you. They don't give a shit about your consent. There is no consent required for the government. That's why I think that we had the Boston Tea Party, because the government was no longer requiring their consent. It was taxation without representation, according to the mainstream story. And then you get to choose the consent of the governed. No, you don't have the right to say that. And then I saw in chat someone mentioning state nationals versus, say, a citizen.
Here? Yeah.
And I've known several state nationals. I mean, this is not necessarily a new thing. This was stuff people I knew back before I even found Flat Earth, but when I was still looking at all the legal deceptions. And it's just as one of the reasons I contend that law is completely and utterly subjective. Because whether it's what do the cops call them? What are the cops that have the qualified immunity where they don't think the laws apply to them? Your sovereign citizens. I kind of
Congress?
The tail end of the sovereign citizen movement. And it really just transformed into the state national movement. I get it. It's just people looking into trying to find that freedom and find that remedy without being labeled a domestic terrorist or even a paper terrorist, which was a thing back right around the state nationals time and the sovereign citizen time. If you try to file paperwork to get remedy, the courts just say, oh, you're wasting our time. You're a paper terrorist, and they will charge you accordingly. I know state nationals that sit in jail. I know state nationals that travel around freely without use of a license or plates or any of that good thing. They have their private conveyance, and they exercise their right to travel, and they live their life as free as can be. So I don't think it's got anything to do with what you claim to be, whether it's a sovereign man on the land, a citizen of your state, a citizen of the federal government, or a national of your state. It doesn't really matter. If a judge wants you in jail, guess where you go? Period. Doesn't matter what the fuck you claim. But
the thing I've always had a problem with in regards to that entire, sovereign citizen is if you commit murder, you're going to prison. Or these different types of laws and infractions that anyone can commit.
And do you think that sovereign citizens think that murder is okay? And that murderers shouldn't be punished?
Oh, no, absolutely not, no.
So then that doesn't... So, I mean, even the sovereign citizen knows that if you commit murder, you're going to go to jail.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what country you're in. And in some countries, If you commit murder, you're going to be basically executed that same day.
You might as well call the sovereign citizen an anarchist, because that's basically his premise is leave me alone, right? Do no harm. Like, I'm not going to harm anybody, so you have no reason to associate with me. I don't need you in my life. You know, I didn't ask for your help. No one's calling on you. You know what I mean? That's just the basic. I don't know.
The idea is very nice, but in regards to that, you also are giving up a whole bunch of your actual tax-paying benefits. And trust me, I am not a fan of being a taxpayer, but I do have a mortgage. So if I were to suddenly give up all of those freedoms,
yeah, but show me. Okay, but can you show me one of those things that you're talking about right now? Because I don't know what you're talking about. What one thing that you have that you get from paying taxes, and I would like to know which tax it is that's paying for whatever benefit you think you're getting from it, and then do you really need that benefit? But first of all, do you even know, like, what benefit you have, that something that you are taxed for that you have? Like,
well, yeah, I'm not an expert in this, so I couldn't point to anything, but I'm pretty sure that if I have my mortgage and I go to file my taxes, which I get a pretty nice chunk of change back at the end of the year, all of a sudden all that stuff goes away. And along with emergency benefits, like if I call 911 or I don't know how it works. I'm not an expert with this, so it's a really tricky subject. But I have two subjects to bring up, maybe after the break.
Yeah, most police forces are to get federal funding. So I don't mind taxes going towards police and firefighters and education, things like that. But the one thing that, and I think we spend too much on it, but I enjoy the fact that there are no invaders coming into the country. That's nice. Never
but I think that's part of the
head, or
I think that's part of the boogeyman narrative. You know what I mean?
Well, no,
you need us to protect you.
Missiles do fly in places. They do. Shit gets blown up. Buildings, people, all that kind of stuff. It does happen. There are wars that happen. But right. Okay. But here's my point just real quick. I'm sorry. My point is that I think that even those are staged. I'm not saying that they're not real. I'm saying that it's an agent provocateur, right? Because you and I wouldn't do that to each other. We would not blow up shit. That the people that are blowing up shit aren't people. They are agents. I just don't believe that normal people left to their own sensibilities would ever go to war with anything, ever, at all, ever. I might be naive, but I think that only the maniacs that wanted to just, I don't even know, man. I can't even put myself there because I'm not a maniac, right? But that's my point. The majority of us are not maniacs. If we were left to ourselves, shit would be peachy. I'm just saying, you look at places like Africa, where there's warlords and children that are carrying around AK-47s at 9 years old. I don't want to live there. I don't.
My personal safety is my responsibility. I don't want to have to fucking try to maintain that vigilance on top of everything fucking else. I want to be able to try to at least relax a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not claiming the United States is by any way, means, or shape perfect and doesn't need a lot reformed. Okay, don't take it like that. But for as far as countries and around the world and the freedoms that we have, just the ability to believe what we think is true and to be able to say our beliefs out loud in public I think the people in this country, especially a lot of the younger people, take that for granted. They use it more than most people do, but it's taken for granted.
Well, yeah, but that's a natural inherent right. We were talking before about a benefit that we receive from the government.
But other places don't have that right, is what I'm saying. Other places, like we were talking about earlier, LGBTQ two gay guys walk down the road in Africa holding hands. They're going to get thrown in prison, possibly stoned to death.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
And I guess my point.
Frowned upon. It's illegal against the law.
That's
so there. This is how we have the right to choose what we want to do. And you're right.
Yeah,
that's not a paid for right or anything like that. You're right, Trev. That's not one of those things that the government gives us or anything like that. That's inherent in this country. God gave us those rights, and the Second Amendment protects the first.
Right. Yeah, but part of my argument, my point is really, I mean, I just think all of the negativity, that we see in, the struggles that are in the world, I think, are created by the powers that be, because they know how to manipulate the masses. But normal people wouldn't be that abusive of each other. I'm just that's my point.
I agree. Yeah, it takes the general to say, "Hey, we're going to go blow these people up over there. Everybody get on the boat, and here we go." Those guys wouldn't go do that unless they were ordered to. No, I agree.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Which goes back.
I'm not even saying the going and fighting and going and starting wars and this and that. I'm just saying the fact that no other general from another country that has manipulated its masses has the audacity to try to come over here into this country and, start shit.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. What's your opinion? What do you think? If you went back, let's say, 500 years, and you found a spiritualist community, whether or not it was Buddhist or Hindu or whatever, do you think they would be pacifists or warmongers?
I think they would probably be somewhere in the middle. I think
agree.
They would be neither, would be my guess. They wouldn't be anywhere close to either one.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I don't think you can put group of people into one category. I think streets are the same.
So let me put it this way. Like, let's do like the Navajo versus the Mohawk, right? So you have all of these different Aboriginal nations here in the United States. So one from the other. So I'm just saying that the Navajo have a spiritual expression, a religious expression. They all have this tribal, practice that they do that's spiritual.
Like,
okay.
Well, wait a minute. Like, so when they kill their enemy, they eat their hearts to ingest the spirit of their enemy type spiritual?
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I don't know that that's what really happened. I know that that's what I was told. Those butchering, pagan, all of those bad people out there. That, even what I'm saying right now, should ring a bell in your mind that is what a false flag is. We're told that they were savages. We're told that they cut out the hearts of their head. I don't think that would have happened. Call me naive again. If you have a Zen Buddhist community where they understand that I am you and you are me and we are one, we're never going to go against each other in war.
Is that an entire worldwide community, or are there other communities that think differently?
I'm saying that we go back to a time when most nations were spiritually minded.
When was that?
I would say, for the most part, you know.
When was that, Trav?
They were separated back then, though, as well.
Knowing that we can't trust what we're told, when was the time that all nations were spiritual? Even, okay, let's just, based on what we are told, when was the time that all nations were spiritual?
I'm taking it for granted that that's just a natural expression of human nature.
Yeah, but I mean, how many times did two guys fight over a girl? You know, just in color.
Wait. No. I didn't say that wouldn't happen, right? I didn't say that there wouldn't be natural human conflicts that happen, but I'm saying that then the mature people of the society, the true yogis, magi, right? They would all look at each other because they see Zack and Josh fighting over the girl, and they all look at each other and they're like, hey, remember when we did that? Like, these guys are gotta, they gotta work this stuff out. They gotta figure this stuff out. You have the entire village raising everybody else's children. Like, everybody would raise everybody, and everybody would just be okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it could work in small society groups, things like that. But people are too different.
Yeah, I mean, even the guys that are fighting over the girl, right? The guy that loses the girl is now emotionally traumatized. Maybe he finds someone else and settles down and they have kids and he's a real shitty father. And now because he's so miserable and happy because he got embarrassed and lost his girl, and now he's raising these kids, maybe he's teaching them all kinds of crazy shit because he's homeschooling. Women are horrible. Women are bad. Look, I'm going to beat your mother now because this is the way I do things. And now I'm going to perpetuate this sort of mentality. And now you're going to go beat your wife, or you're going to be a wife that gets beat.
Yeah, but see, I think at some point, right? I know. This is no different of an idealistic talk than anything about anarchy is, anyway. So, I think that we would have a society that was so tightly knit that we wouldn't have men who abused their wives, because people would know. Because the woman would say, "I need your help," or whatever. We would know about it, and then the other people would go, Travis, you need to stop beating your wife. And it's like Josh and you and Walt and Andrew, and you guys are all at my door. Like, all 5 of you, all 6 of you are telling me, I need to change my behavior. But again, I'm trying to take an optimistic view of this discussion.
And see,
I get that.
I would still have a real strong urge to tell people to go fuck off and to mind their own business. And just because you don't like what I'm doing doesn't mean you get to come in here and tell me how to live my life.
Yeah, except for the fact that I'm responsible for the lives of other people as well. And the way that you are treating someone else is a violation of their rights.
Yeah, it's for their own good.
Wait. Who made you responsible for other people's lives?
What's that?
That's like government.
It's the best way to teach them, though. I'm doing it for their own good. It hurts me more than it hurts them, but it really is for their own good.
Hold on, Zach. What I mean is that your safety is my first interest. Like, if you're in my proximity, right, I'm responsible to make sure that I don't do anything that puts your life in jeopardy. That's what I mean by my responsibility for your life. You know what I mean? Like, so if I see a husband beating his wife, I have an obligation to her to come in and protect her. And if that means getting into a fisticuff with the guy, then that's what I'm going to have to do.
And you got little.
Have to kill.
What if you have little kids with you? You're going to take those little kids and have them get into the fisticuffs? Or are you going to take them into that violent situation? Whose rights do you now protect? Your children, the woman, everybody else's? Whose rights take precedence? Someone's got to.
Wait. What? You're changing the storyline now. What are you adding to it now?
Kids. Let's just assume now you've got to prioritize rights. You can't protect everybody's rights equally. Someone's got to have their rights protected more. Do you protect the woman getting beat, or do you protect your children and get them out of that situation?
Well, so look, if you're going to throw children into the works, that's fine, but they're underneath the umbrella of the mother. So but okay, so like, what if there was no mother? What if the mother had died in childbirth, and then I see that the father's a dick?
You're out in,
you know, and I
right.
want to protect the children. It's still the same principle. They are human
It happens
beings.
all the time today.
Yeah, we just go take the kids away from the irresponsible fathers because it'd be better off for the whole society. Dad's
Okay,
being a dick.
Yeah. I realize that you have to iron out all of these kinks. I get that. But I'm saying that if we're gonna have a society where that is the case, then the father already knew that he signed a contract to stay in our jurisdiction. Like, this is the way we're going to run society. If
But now
you
you're
are an
talking-
abusive husband,
Now we're talking
Hold on.
government again,
Uh-huh.
and then you're going to get taxes to pay
there
these.
has to be government to some extent. You like what's going to? Yeah, but okay. So like you have Tumbleweed, Oklahoma. Okay, Tumbleweed, Oklahoma. There's 20 families living in a small community, just 20 families, and they get they take care of everything. They help each other, blah blah blah. And then one day they have a massive conflict where, let's say, Josh and Zack are fighting over a girl, and Josh kills Zack. Right? So then in that situation, you're going to have to apply now justice. Right? So then you have to then have some sort of government. It's inescapable. But it's government only in that situation only comes into play when it's needed. I don't need you right now to policy enforce how fast I'm driving, right? I didn't hit anybody. If I hit someone, then I need policing, but not before then. Leave me alone.
We lost that war, Trev. That was the Civil War. Federal government versus the states' rights. We lost. States' rights don't exist. It's all the federal government.
I get that. But my whole point now, to go back to the beginning, is I want to know when the last constitutionalist died, and no one knew how to stop this snowball from getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Andrew Jackson. He was against all that stuff. The whole federal government taking power over the states and this and that, yada. I mean, it happened a long time ago, according to his story.
And I think that's...
So, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, we have this
I'm
issue.
just
We have
saying
a
it's
very
not-
idealized version of the way things definitely should be. And then we have reality, and the two never coincide. And that's where I think a lot of the state nationals and the sovereign citizens get lost, is they completely detach from reality. And it's like, well, we need to live in this totally, completely idealized version of what society should be. All we need is for everybody to think the same way, and we'll all get along. And just imagine how great it would be if we all believed the same spiritual things, and if we all just used the same monetary system all across the world. Things would be so much easier, so much better.
No. See, now I would consider those the thoughts of a maniacal, insane person.
Right. So what you have to do is allow for the freedom of thought and the freedom of difference. And once that happens, that's conflict. And you're going to have to deal with the fact that there's going to be conflict. Regardless of how idealized you want to make it, conflict will happen.
Yeah, but so then this is like where yoga comes into effect, right? Where you learn how to control your body, and you, even the minutest shift in your position uses a different muscle. And if you're in control of all of that all of the time, you learn how to have self-control, right? It's all about self-control.
As long as you prioritize that in your situations. But people aren't going to all prioritize that the same way. Some people aren't going to give a shit. Some people are going to say, oh, look at these guys, I can take advantage of them because they're busy doing yoga.
That's a weird way to put it. Okay.
You, Patrick?
So there's a difference between government and governance. So a government is more like a whole body that is incorporated essentially with a whole bunch of people that agree that they are going to be the rulers that are elected into a position. And then there's governance, which is the idea of that. So the idea of governance is sort of how the Amish perceive that. They have their own small little communities, and then the government for them is the church. But aside from that, they live in their own little tiny embodiments of their own governance.
Right, but I would say that and I don't know this for sure, but there's almost like this age of accountability where if you stay here, you know that this is how we run things. You know that this is how we do things. So when we apply our rules and our laws to you, you can't cry about it. Mm-hmm. You've chosen to stay here. You knew that if you beat your wife, we would come in and kick your ass.
And that's the way it is now, isn't it? If you don't like it, if you don't like America, leave. Isn't that sort of the way it is now?
No, but you can be in America and not be in America. I can live here and you don't even have to know it. Mm-hmm. I'm just doing Uber. Leave me the fuck alone. Like, what's my presence in here? Like, leave me alone. You'll never have to apply any of your policies to me because I'm going to try to keep you away from me as much as possible. So I am going to stop fully at the stop sign. I am going to do this, that, or the other because I want you to leave me alone because you think you live in a world where you can tell me what to do.
Wasn't that all it takes? That thought and a monopoly on violence?
Yeah, but again, we've crossed the line into psychopaths and tyrants, which most people are not, right? Most people are not. So if you got rid of the tyrants, you got rid of the people who want to control other people, if you got rid of them, everybody else would know how to behave and know how to monitor themselves and get along.
How do you get rid of them in a non-tyrannical way?
What's that?
Well,
how do you get rid of the people that think differently than you in a non-tyrannical way?
Yeah, I know. I get it, man.
You remove one tyrant, and it could have been the nice, quiet little kid who wrote this book called Mein Kampf, right? I mean, Hitler wasn't the big alpha back in the day when he was younger. Little scrawny kid. But, one tyrant moved out of the way. The next tyrant stood up.
Yeah, but I'm not
comfortable to get rid of the tyrants. I don't think that's possible.
Well,
Whenever there's a vacuum of power, somebody is going to want to fill it. Somebody.
I get
Even
that.
If they want to fill it the day before. Now that there's an open vacancy, it's just some humans are wired that way. They want to be in. They want the power. They want to be in charge. They want everybody to see and hear what they are saying. It's just nature. It's just a natural feeling that some people have it for a while and then it goes away. It's not like people are wired to where they're like this their whole lives. That's the thing that sucks about this. I mean, if we all came into this world and we were who we were, this is how we're going to be the rest of our lives and not change, then we could get rid of tyrants and stuff like that and build this perfect utopia of these certain types of people. But people change. Zack from 15 years ago is not Zack of today. Wasn't a horrible guy, but I've grown so much. How I handle things is different. My emotions, I'm more stable emotionally. I don't let things rile me as easy. So it's really, it's just humans.
Just to go back real quick and say about one ruler filling the void of another. I'm going to suggest again that a healthy society doesn't have a ruler, right? We have adults, we have mature people who are in a community together who I guess are all co-administrative, right? They're all responsible. Like there's one person who's the shaman, sure. There's one person who's the herbalist, and there's one person who does this. Like we all have our different talents and our different gifts, but no one's ruling. Like they would never create a ruler. I mean,
No.
the only thing.
Do you think
the only thing
leadership
that does
occurs
that
naturally? Do you think sort of
Sorry,
a
I'm
leader
sorry, just-
emerges naturally in a group of people? Or do you think all the people in a large group just can naturally, harmoniously work autonomously? Or do you think some sort of leader will eventually emerge to help lead the entire group of people?
No. I don't want to have words put in my. I didn't say anything like that. But the only thing where we have a ruler in nature is in the family unit, the male, right? So the family unit is a society, and there is a structure to it.
What about a bull elephant or the alpha wolf?
What do you mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
you mean there's a
packs,
you say that there's
not
a
just
leader.
necessarily families, but groups of families coming together still choose an alpha.
Yeah. I get that to a certain extent, but I don't know that we can carry over the analogy to the animal kingdom. And I think the reason why is because of.
So let's come back to the group of people. Do you think group of people can act autonomously and harmoniously, or do you think a leader, an alpha, will emerge naturally?
Okay, so look, again, if we just have a family with a father, he's the one who's going to teach the family how to behave and how to speak and this, that, and the other. And then if you have 10 families or whatever, all of those smaller, expressions of families are doing the same thing. The larger unit, again, like when are they ever going to need a leader, right? Like when are they ever going to need someone to lead? Like something would have to come up. And they're like, okay, who's the best suited for this situation that just came up right now? Bob, can you do this? Steve?
Well, I think Bob or Steve is going to be the guy that makes sure that all the fathers are sort of homogenized with the way that they raise their families. Because you can't have the difference of raising. They all have to raise them in the same way so that there's no conflict later on with the children and later.
I disagree with that. No, I think that's crazy talk.
So if you can, one guy can beat his wife and teach his children that men are above. I'm the father. I'm the leader of this family. So everybody else is below me, and I get to do with them as I please. Whereas the other one teaches more of a unified. Hey, we're all sort of equals here, and there's an equality and of thought and expression, and we all care about how the other people think and feel. I mean, that's going to create conflict somewhere later on down the road when you have one train of thought going one direction and the other train of thought going the other. So you have to homogenize that train of thought so that later on there are no need for anybody to lead, but you have to have a leader to homogenize the thought.
I don't even know how to keep up with your how should I say your truly you have a dizzying intellect.
Josh is good at this. I deal with this all the time, Trav. Welcome. No, Josh is great at picking apart any idea or thought yeah.
And this is something that I struggle with internally almost daily. This idea that, look, it's not that I necessarily oppose taxes. I think we're taxed way too much, and I think there's no accountability in the way those taxes are spent. So they waste a shit ton of it, which is why they charge us so much. Versus, fuck off and leave me alone. And I tend to stay more fuck off and leave me alone more than anything. Just because they take so much of my fucking taxes and have no accountability. If they were held more accountable, maybe I'd be a little more inclined to be a little more social.
Yeah, but so think about this. I was having a conversation with a writer the other day, and so think about tax as a different term for charity.
That's right? What taxes really are.
Yeah. Okay. So look. So we're not forced to support every charity. We're not forced to support a charity at a particular rate, right? That's left to our own discretion. We can choose which charities we want and how much we want to support those charities or whatnot. But taxation isn't that. Like, you're forced to pay for something that you might not agree with.
Now, federal taxes were first set up were based on your income. Now, income is not a wage that someone pays you for doing the job for them. That's not considered income. Income is taking your own money, putting it towards something, and getting a higher return on that. That was considered income. Taxes were set up for rich, wealthy people back in the 20s. It was set up, I forget her name, but she wanted to give 10% of all her earnings to this and that for blah, 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 blah. And people started doing it, and it was a voluntary thing. And then they started taxing your income mandatorily, but it was income, not your wages, not things like that. That came up.
Right, but now think about the point now comes back around again. Where was the Constitution that stood up and said, where do you get off taxing my property? This is mine. You don't get a percentage. Oh, yes.
No, it's not your property, though. Look at feed.
Where,
you agreed to buy that land that way.
What?
There are deeds out there where you actually own the land and don't pay taxes. But you agreed to that, to rent that land for the most part.
You get the use and the fruits of that land.
But you don't get the mineral rights, you don't get the air rights, any of that. There are ways to do that.
This is the Civil War, Trev. We lost. The federal government gets it. We lost the war. It's the federal government's. We are allowed the use and the fruits. As the prisoners, as the inhabitants of the land that was overtaken by the federal government, we are still allowed the use and the fruits. That way they can still enjoy us and our tax money, keep us happy, yeah. Let us use the property and enjoy the fruits of that property. Keeps us happy, makes us pay our taxes. But they won the war.
No different than the lords allowing the common man to use his land to farm and then gave him 10% of his crops.
Yep, sharecroppers. That's what we are. Yeah. Sharecroppers.
Different than Middle Age England that we, tried to break away free from. We did it for a little while, but they took us back over, and we're set up pretty much the same way they are now.
The Jones Plantation is coming out in January 1st, is the world premiere in Los Angeles.
So I think about this every once in a while when I'm driving around and I see these massive amounts of land, in these rich neighborhoods, you get huge mansions and just massive amounts of land, right? And I was like, if I just got a tiny home and you gave me a 20 by 20 plot on that land, you could do it for free. Like, you would never have to charge me. Like, why? Why would you charge me to occupy a 20 by 20 area of land that you're no longer going to have to maintain? Because I'm going to maintain it. It's got a garden on it, this, that, and the other. I do my own power. I do my own waste. I do everything. So there's nothing that you are losing by my being here. Why are you ever going to tax me for being there?
Well, because they got to have their assessors come out, and you have to get permits and all this other stuff to make sure that all your stuff is up to code. So when you die and leave that place and somebody else buys it, they don't die in a fire because you wired it wrong and this and that. They've got regulations on everything now to where they are needed. You need the government just to build a porch on your back of your house.
Yeah, right. Again, Zach, now we're back. Everybody should be knowing what I'm going to say right now. You should all know what's going to come out of my mouth, right? At some point in the past, the last constitutionalist died, and they started writing policies saying what could happen to my property. Where do you get off telling me that I can't put a porch on my property? We still have to peel back the onion farther and farther and farther, because it began somewhere. There was a corner that was turned when the crack in the dam just unleashed.
Yeah.
Because again, think about this, right? Let's say 200 years ago, I leave Philadelphia and I head west. And I get to I don't know, somewhere close to Harrisburg or whatever. Nobody's around. Nobody. So then I choose out a plot of land and I mark out, you know, my boundaries and this is what I want, blah, blah, blah. And I build a house and I'm there for 10 years. And then people start coming and showing up. And then 30 years later, you know, there's this town. At what point is that town ever going to tell me that I can't put a porch on my house?
When they all get together and say, you know, this rich person and this rich person and this rich person, get all the other town folk together and say, we need to start a community this or that. And then it turns out, well, now we need a mayor to be in charge of this or that. Now we need this, now we need that. Hey, so-and-so's, I bought this house from so-and-so, and then they didn't do this right on the back, and my child fell through and broke this or that, so what do we do? Oh, we're going to have to make sure people start building their stuff right. It's just how it goes, Trav.
But they said it was perfect when I bought it. Turns out none of it was perfect. It was a fucking death trap. Who do I go to now for legal recourse? How do I enforce a contract?
You know, if humans were all good, yes, we could build a perfect society. We could. But humans are not good.
And it doesn't take a majority of people to be good.
I don't believe that. Listen.
You don't believe there's any bad people? You've never met a person that was just inherently sort of did bad things?
Listen, I was going to explain myself.
Because it takes one. Even if you have a majority of people are good, because I agree with you, I think a majority of people are good. Doesn't matter.
Everybody is pretty much good, but everybody has the ability to do bad, meaning it or not.
Yeah. Okay, look.
Has emotions and they get mad and angry and do things that they normally wouldn't do. You know, it could be a flash in the pan. Only one time he did it, but he murdered somebody when that flash in the pan went off. Do we just say, he doesn't do that though? He's never done that. He's probably never going to do it again. We'll just let it go. That's not how it works. People are emotional. People have outbursts, outrages. You know, if people, like you said, if people could control their emotions and be in control, but it doesn't work that way. People change, you know. People may be that way and then not be that way, or, you know, not be that way and learn and become that way. But to get everybody on that page all at the same time, that'd be a miracle in my eyes.
Well, no, I agree. I agree that it's an insurmountable task.
Love this conversation, though, Trav. We are going to take a little break.
I do. I say the same, Josh. I love having these conversations.
Well, I also want to hear what Andrew's got to talk about, because I know he's got a couple of points to bring up, too, and I am in desperate need of some coffee and a couple of puffs on a cigarette and a hit the head.
Oh, quit the cigarettes, man.
Why?
I quit them like 6 months ago.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You got a good expectorant that you can use?
What?
Do you still use a good expectorant? Because I got a lot of like sinus drainage and shit. It's always good for me to cough some shit up. I like to just take a couple drags off a cigarette and hawk up the shit in my lungs.
Just sinuses. That's it. It's going away.
Hey, can you clean up your conversation a little bit, Josh?
Yeah.
Nope. I think that cigarettes have a very good medicinal benefits from smoking cigarettes. I'm not smoking a pack a day like I used to. I'm down to like 4 or 5 a day, but probably still more than I'd like. I think 2 or 3 would be a good thing. But yeah, we are going to take a little break. I'm going to go do my stuff. And if you can quit them, quit them.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I've never felt healthier in my life until I quit doing that.
Hey, that could be a new poster slogan. If you got them, quit them.
Quit him if you got him.
Well, in the military, they said if you got them, smoke them.
I know.
Because they would give us like a 5-minute warning.
I was flipping that on its head.
All right, guys. This is the IRONWORX right here, freeworld.fm. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Quit him if you got him. You know what? That's the wrong damn plug. I forgot I was charging my phone. No longer plugging it into the audio. We'll take that. Right. And somewhere.
That's it. Not going anymore.
All right, here we go. We'll be back.
Raven is a wicked bird, his wings are black as sin. And he floats outside my prison window, mocking those within. And he sings to me real low, it's hell to where you go. For you didn't murder Kate McCannon. When I first met Tom McCannon, I was working in the mine. He said he had himself a dark-haired daughter with long green eyes. And when she and I did meet, she was bathing in the creek. Prettiest girl in the whole damn holler, that ain't no lie. So I went a-courting Kate McCannon. Got me a job and I quit my rambling. And every day I'd say a quarter of my pay. Like you'd buy a diamond ring. Lord, and one day I come home to find my darling angel's not inside. So I made for the creek where she and I did meet. Found her with some other lover. In the Kate McCannon. all day like a dog.
All right, well, that's not the right one. Supposed to roll right in, you dumb bastards.
Never say that nothing ever came from a mouse. Anyway, crawled into my house, took my cat away. Don't let your brain tell your mind that it must say that nothing ever came from a mouse. Anyway, never say that nothing ever came from a gnat. Anyway, flew into my ear and then it done flown away. Always causing aggravation, so can't you ever say that nothing ever came from a gnat? Anyway. Comes from the music anyway. Came into my life and it stole my blues away. Oh, my stereo is my best friend every day, and this music is my blood. It's my blood. It always comes and goes, but it never floods. Something always comes, something always goes, something always comes from the music. Something always comes from the music. Anyway. This music flows. Don't you feel like it's life? Well, I do. Well, I certainly do. I can't live without this music in my blood. Oh, oh, oh. Well, it gets me up when I'm feeling down, and I cannot sleep when this music is around. I live to move. And I know that there's something there. This music. A wise man once said. A wise man once said when he told me one good thing about music: when it hits you, you feel no pain. always comes, and it always goes. It will be there to the end after everything is gone. The music. Oh, it will be there to the end. Something always comes, something always goes, something always comes and it goes. Something always comes from the music anyway, 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 anyway.
And welcome back. Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is the IRONWORX right here, freeworld.fm. That was a little bit of OAR with Anyway.
That's pretty good.
That was a pretty good one.
Who was the
first one? Was a guy named Coulter Wall. And the song is Kate McCannon. He's got some brewery sessions, maybe what they're called. It's him in like a big wall of like beer cans behind him. And it's just like him and a kick bass and a guitar. And he's just up there jamming and singing. It's really good. That whole series was really good. But yeah, Coulter Wall, he just sounded a lot like Johnny Cash. He's got that crazy, that deep voice. But when you see him, he's just like
exactly who I thought it was.
It's a scrawny little white guy. Yeah. Young guy, too. I expected something older. I don't know what I expected. I listened to him for a while before I finally looked him up on YouTube and started watching some of his stuff and was blown away by the way he looked compared to the voice that he has.
Friday for one of the songs. Bill dropped a great one. Bill Wheel in chat says Jerry Reed. I'm not sure PMS, I guess. I don't know that one, but Lord Mr. Ford is a great song.
Wait, PMS? Seriously?
I guess.
It's called PMS, I guess. I'm sure it's about his wife. If you don't know who Jerry Reed is, he wrote Eastbound and Down for Smokey and the Bandit. He was actually Snowman in that movie. But he was also a country music singer. He had quite a few songs. The Bird. There's a whole bunch. Some were nice and soft and mellow, beautiful voice. But most of his were like funny type songs. You know, Amos Moses. Oh, that's a great one.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, but Lord Mr. Ford, that's one of those that I memorized when I first heard it. I was like, oh, I'm memorizing that song. Oh, Lord Mr. Ford, how I wish you could see what your simple horseless carriage has become. It seems your contribution to man, to say the least, got a little out of hand. Oh, Lord Mr. Ford, what have you done? Yeah, good song. Thank you for taking me back there, Bill. It's been a while since I heard Jerry Reed. All right. Oh, I love being able to play music like this.
Yeah, me too. It is nice.
Hey, Josh, can you put a link for those two songs that you played? Because I really, really liked them.
I for sure can.
Thanks.
Yeah, the last song you played was a little bit like Primus. It had that like deep, like bass tone to it.
Whatever the last two songs were, whatever those two songs were, yeah.
And Primus is one of those bands that there was an old Law and Order episode. My mom used to love Law and Order, and I used to sit and watch them with her. I think it was Law and Order. It might have been I don't know. But it was about this young musician, and at like age 5, he was doing, Mozart and Bach, and he was a phenom when it came to music. But as he got older, he got into like grunge and things like that. And then he started making music that was not resonantly sound. Like there's chord progressions, and certain chords go together.
Was his name Trent Reznor?
No, but not in the show. But no, I'm talking about Primus. That's how they do. Like if you listen to the beginning of South Park, they have all these weird noises that if you played them in chords, it wouldn't sound right. If you tried to play it in a progression, but when you play it out of sync and do it all crazy and weird and make a progression out of that crazy weirdness, it's almost like another step of music, like you went up another level just now. You understand it so well that you can take sounds that aren't supposed to go together and make it all fit together in a musical scheme. Yeah, they're geniuses, Primus. When it comes to, I would say they are, if not Walter's nemesis, Tool, I would say Primus are the Pink Floyd of our time. Not as well known or this or that, not anything like that, but just as musical talent. The way that they understand music is amazing.
I think I always remember thinking Primus was just like heavy metal, and I was never into heavy metal in the 90s. So I never listened to anything. So like, what's their style? Like, what would they sound
bass.
like?
It is just bass.
It is heavier, but it's like a heavy type of music that's played very intricately. It's not like going up there and going, and just hitting the strings.
It's like progressive rock to a certain extent.
Progressive rock on acid.
That's a weird way to put it.
Yeah.
Very, very talented.
Yeah,
very talented.
And go beyond progressive rock. That's what Primus does. And it helps that they have one of the most amazing bass players of the last, however many years. Les Claypool is. In the songs, they usually tell a story. He doesn't have a beautiful voice. He doesn't sing all that much. It's mostly like talking for the most part. But the music, I would love to see these guys live. I've been watching them play live. I never got into Primus either, Trav, just because it was heavy. And I didn't come onto this revelation until the last few years that, wow, these guys are really musically beyond most other bands. Like they could do pretty much what every other band does, but most other bands can't do what Primus does.
Oh, yeah. I just looked it up. Les Claypool is 60 years old now.
Wow. Still gets up on stage and dances around and jams that thing, hits that bass like a madman. But yeah, check them out, Trav. They're cool. Check out them playing live, where you can actually see them up close, not like live from a pavilion, but live from like up on stage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's really neat.
All right, so something I wanted to bring up tonight, or this morning, was I was looking for the geographical center of the U.S. Does anyone know what city or state that is in? It's not too far from Josh.
Topeka, Kansas.
It's in Kansas, but it's not Pika.
That was just one of the few cities I knew.
I've never been to Kansas, I don't think.
I don't know. No clue.
I'm a fucking nerd when it comes to this. Okay, so I'll just give you the answer. It's Lebanon, Kansas.
Really?
That's the name of it. That's the geographical center of the U.S. for a city. For Josh, I'm guessing that's probably a 10-hour drive, roughly 8 to 10-hour drive.
Lebanon, Kansas. Well, thank you. I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever heard.
Lebanon, Kansas. And the other subject I wanted to bring up, I don't think we have enough time to even discuss it, because this would probably take 5 days to actually go through. But it was in regards to the biblical debate that just happened. And I have a very esoteric kind of a question to bring up, so maybe next time I'll bring it up.
Why don't you bring it up now to give us some time to mull it over?
Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and assume that Greg Locke were to bring up some information, which he didn't, in regards to proving biblical flat Earth. What would happen? Like absolute proof.
He would have to deal with me, because I'm the only one who's saying that the Bible is not a flat Earth book, has nothing to do with this conversation. So, if Greg Locke brought any evidence for it, I would be one who would have to then go against him in a challenge.
Okay. Well, I'm not just talking about biblical flat Earth. I'm talking about if he brought up anything that was...
To be clear, the people who wrote it, apparently, the Hebrews, they were flat earthers. They believed the Earth to be flat and stationary. So if they were going to describe the Earth, that's how they would describe it. Just saying. The Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Incas, the Norse, there's all kinds of them. They all believed in flat, motionless plane.
What I'm getting at more specifically is, let's just hypothetically, and I don't like using hypotheticals because it's hypothetical, but if myself or anyone here or any popular flat earther were to be sent into a rocket, which I would never get into, and all of a sudden we saw that the Earth was a sphere, and then people that were on the biblical side of it, how would that change things? And they saw it for a fact. They saw it with no curved windows, nothing like that. They saw that the Earth was a sphere. Obviously, it's not. But how would that change things? I know it's a very.
I think we're seeing it happen today, Andrew. We're already seeing, after they sent up rockets and showed everybody pictures, not going up themselves, but showed pictures of the globe, that changed society. If you look at the 60s, 50s, how much society has changed here in this country, at least in the United States, I mean, it's a totally different world. Just the social part of it. And I think that's what they went after. They're trying to remove God, and that was the best way to do it, to show that, you're not in this small thing. This place is huge. If God even does exist, this is what I thought. He's not looking at us anymore. He's out there working on whatever else he's building out there. That was my thought. So I think they did it to move God away from you. To say, okay, God's not right here. He's not even within the moon. We've been to the moon. We didn't meet God. Now we've got things that go out to Saturn and out of this solar system. So God's not even in the solar system anymore. God is beyond that. That's what I think they did it for. And we're seeing the results of that right now with all the godlessness in this country.
I agree. Yeah. And what are they saying? That the solar system, I'm sorry, not the solar system, the universe is now how far?
The whole way.
And like, it's infinite, or it's like double the expanse that they thought it was previously?
Yeah. It went from 14 billion light years to, I think, 26 billion light years or something like that. And snap of fingers. Yeah.
It's just a magic trick. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think that was the whole idea, to move the idea that the creator is there, or the creator is watching you.
So I think the difference is The question was about absolute proof. And because there was no absolute proof, they've got to reinforce that sphere, that globe that they kept showing everybody to change society. But there was no proof for it, so we just keep pumping it into your face and put it, you know, in every single room on every single show. Everybody sees the globe. Everybody knows it's a globe. Duh. But if one person came out and said, I've got absolute proof, the changes would be non-existent. Not one thing would happen. Nothing. I don't think it'd change a friggin' thing. If one lone guy says, hey, I saw the globe, I saw it, it's proof. Yeah, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. You know how many flat earthers have come out and said that they've got proof of a globe and they're no longer flat earthers? At least a handful.
Well, let's say that there was 1,000 popular flat earthers that in like 10 different categories. They all go up in some sort of a balloon or a rocket or whatever, and they see it, and they come down and they change their minds. And all of a sudden they go onto YouTube and they go on to different streaming services or whatever. And all of a sudden they say,
this is the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. Andrew, you're being so silly, man.
No, I'm like I said, it's hypothetical. Okay? I don't believe this shit, okay? I'm just asking a hypothetical question.
I think we'd probably lose some flat earthers and gain some. Some people would listen and follow along. Some people wouldn't. It'd be just like everything else that the flat earthers do today.
Because I've already tested the globe flat earth on my own. It's not fucking curving. I know that. But it's hypothetical. Because there's a lot of people that are still on the fence about it. And they always ask these questions. Well, why don't we send Eric DeBay up? Like, well, no. Or Andrew Baker. Like, no. I'm not going to go in a fucking rocket. It's stupid.
If anybody said that, I'd tell him, okay. I'd say, definitely. Ask him. Tell him that you're going to pay for his ticket into space. If that's what you're offering. If
no,
you're not offering it. No, but whoever is suggesting this. If somebody on the internet is asking you, why don't we just send up Eric Dubé in a rocket? Tell them to ask Eric Dubé and offer to pay for the ticket. It's pretty fucking expensive. But if this person is asking, I'm assuming they're offering. If they're not offering, then you could tell them to F right off because they're that situation is just as hypothetical as yours. Why don't we? Well, because nobody can afford to go.
The last debate. Because the pastor said that he has some sort of a guy in Texas, like who's a cattle rancher, and he's going to send people up.
Uh-huh.
And he said that it's going to cost a whole bunch of money and whatever else. So what happens if some people see something that they didn't expect to see? I know this is hypothetical, but I think he's a bullshit piece of shit liar. I don't trust that guy for I wouldn't loan him $1.
Wait,
yeah,
you're saying
that we can go, we've sent things up that high.
I know this is like I said, this is at the end of the stream, so I didn't want to bring this up at this point. But the previous part. I'm sorry, what, Travis?
I said, way to go. Thanks a lot.
Travis, you're awesome, and I love your compassion with everything you were talking about earlier.
Oh, okay, I appreciate that.
I'm not trying to be condescending or patronizing.
No, not taken that way.
And I need to make the point that sometimes when I talk about things I'm passionate about, it comes across as though I'm angry or pissy or confrontational. And I want to put forth this, that I am not at all, that I absolutely love you, Trav, and I have zero ill will or nothing like that. When I get passionate.
I wasn't afraid, man.
You can usually tell when I'm talking about something I don't care about versus something I do, based on how pissed I seem.
No. Here's I could be wrong in my assessment, but this was my assessment because I think that might have been the first time I experienced that firsthand, right? So I felt like, man, this guy is a devil's advocate monster. Mm-hmm. Like you were just spitting stuff out like it was just in your arsenal and you just knew how to be a devil's advocate. So I wasn't taking anything personal.
Okay, because that's exactly what it is. I will argue for both sides of an issue depending on how the person is coming at me, because it really is just sort of a devil's advocate pointing out some sort of inherent flaws. It's not that I agree or disagree. I'm just offering different opinion, a different point of view.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's how it was taken.
Good, because chances are I would more likely agree with 100% of the things you're saying, even though I argue against them. I probably would much rather have a situation where I don't need to have a nanny state looking after me, telling me what I can and can't do, someone to whom I should ask permission as to whether or not I can grow a plant, smoke a plant, whatever it is. Yeah. My inherent reaction is to F right off.
That's almost going to wrap it up, folks. We got a few minutes here.
We certainly do. Some great conversations. We miss Walter, who's feeling a little bit under the weather and wanted to take today off. I'm hoping he'll be back Friday morning. I cannot guarantee. Hopefully he will be better by then.
Yeah, send him some healing vibes. He wasn't really feeling all that great Monday, but he made it. But yeah, sent a message last night just saying, yeah, it's been just getting worse. It's been going around. There's definitely been a chest sinus thing going around here and up in Indiana around that area. It's fall. It's that time of year. I don't know if it's in the stars. When I say that, I mean, the frequencies and vibrations, and maybe it's a time for cleansing. Maybe it has something to do with all the trees losing leaves. I don't know. No clue. But it happens every year. Called the flu. Call it what you want.
Yeah, Dixie's still not 100%. She had it last week. Was convinced it must have been COVID. It might have been 2 weeks ago, if not longer, because she had gone out of town. But because I didn't get it is why she thought it might be COVID. Tends to be the one thing.
Wait, is that word even allowed?
It is here.
We do what we want.
What are they going to do? Pull it down for medical misinformation?
I don't even know anymore.
Let them. I bet you we've got more videos pulled for medical misinformation than most podcasts have up. So take that for what it's worth.
We're saying a 2-syllable 5-letter word. Can't say that.
I love it.
All right, we are going to get out of here. Thanks you guys for hanging out with us this morning. This has been the IRONWORX right here on freeworld.fm. Make sure you join us again Friday morning for more of the same, and again Friday afternoon for Have No Sphere over on our Iron Will Media YouTube channel, where we are also simulcasting. Don't think we've got much planned for this week, but I think next week we've got some of those live updates for the wiki, Flat Earth Wiki, I believe is how we're going to do that. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your week. Be good. Be well. Quit them if you got them. We love you. Bye-bye.